So, like she said, I'm Barbara Gholson, the county collector, and we have offices in Jackson and in Cape. So if you're from the Cape area, we've got an office over there. Jackson, we have one over here. It's an elected position. You have to file and go through the election process and everything. And the term will expire. Normally terms go from January through December. The collector's office goes till February 28th or 29th, whichever, if it's a leap year. And that is because November, December, and January are our busiest months, and there's not appropriate time for us to change collectors in the middle of December, at the end of December. Our office is governed by the state statutes. Normally, the main ones are Chapter 52, 139, and 140, but there are various other chapters that involve the collector and issues with the collector's office. Those can be found at the Missouri Revisor of Statutes site on the internet. We have an office in Jackson. We are required to have an office in the county seat unless there is not a bank in that area, and then there's different qualifications. We have no problem with that in Cape County. We have a lot of banks. My office, then we also have a satellite office in Cape, and that way it will assist the people in that area so that they don't have to all travel to the county seat. I have 4 employees in the county office in Jackson, and then there are 5 employees in the Cape office. They are all cross-trained to do assessing, collecting, voter registration, absentee voting. It's a central voting area over in Cape. We do have division of jobs in both of the offices. In the Cape office, if somebody does the assessing, they have to have somebody else do the collecting. They don't do the same job all the way through for protection for them, protection of the county, protection of the citizens of the county. In Jackson, we have 4 during the regular year. We have 4, and the person that does the bank statements never does any bank transfers or ACHs or writes any checks. The persons that write those things and do those things never do the bank statements. That way there's always accountability, and then that way, now the person that makes the cash deposit might be the one that does the bank, but that's gone through 3 or 4 more steps before it gets to anything else. We collect real estate bills, personal property bills, Little River if you have a drainage area, or county ditch bills. We do merchant license. Anybody that has a business that sells a product needs to have a county merchant's license. We do auctioneer license. They are actually good for anywhere in the state. We collect for duplicates. If you need a duplicate personal property tax receipt, it costs you $1. That hasn't changed since 1998, and I don't know how much before that. So, but on real estate, if you need a copy, there is no charge. That is state statutes.
Wow.
We also collect for railroad and utilities. There are extra different special collections. There's a TIF, tax increment financing. And when I started back in '98, there were 2 in the city of Jackson. Now there's 1 left in the city of Jackson, but there's about 5 in the city of Cape. There are pilot payments in lieu of taxes. They're considered a Chapter 100. And that is normally in some type of a blighted area to help be able to get that area more tax paying. So they give a discounted rate. There's different categories of which they can be, and they have to all go through ordinances and be approved and everything. There's Chapter 353s. There's community improvement districts. One of the newest ones is the Crossroads down by across from Huck's at Kings Highway and Bloomfield Road. And those, we have to collect them as a different way, but they get distributed through all the entities. So our year runs from March 1st to February 28th or 29th. But I'm going to start in September and let you kind of know what we do and what all goes on in our office. So the tax rates are set by the entities, by the fire departments, by the schools, by the boards that you were talking about earlier. And they all have to set their tax rates and turn them into the clerk's office. The clerk has to then turn them into the state, and the state has to verify all of them, and then they send them back if they're approved. We have about 34 entities right now. That includes schools, cities, fire departments, the mental health, senior citizens, road and bridge. Well, there's not a tax on road and bridge right now. Libraries. So we collect for all those. We collect for all the towns, cities, villages that are in the county. The latest one that we've done is Scott City. We didn't do that until the last 2 years. So we contract with the cities and we collect the money for them, and then we forward them their part so that way they don't have to send the same tax bill out, and it's beneficial to them. It saves them paper, it saves them envelopes, it saves them stamps. We collect it all and give them their money. Then October rolls around, those rates all get entered in the computer system. They're verified, they're printed out, we sign off, we check them, double check them, triple check them. The collector clerk in the information technology department all sign off on them that they've all approved them. And trust me, in my office there's about 3 of us that look at them, and IT has more than one, and Kara has more than one. Then the tax bills are generated. We mail our tax bills normally after the first election. There's an election normally in November, at least every other year. We mail after that because the office in Cape that does voter registration and absentee voting, if we had all these people coming in that forgot to be assessed and needs to be assessed, and we have the people coming in to pay, and we have the people coming in to vote, their lobby's not that big. So we normally wait until that election to mail, but by statute, we have to mail 30 days before the taxes are due. So we have to mail by December 1st. So we get the taxes mailed out in November, we start collecting the taxes. When I started in 1998, I thought, what is 2 things you have to do? Die and pay your taxes, right? No. They do eventually have to pay their taxes, but people pay them late more than you would ever imagine. I always figured that, by January we'll be done. We won't have anything to do the rest of the year. That's not the way it is. Some people decide that, it's better if I wait till my license are due. Or some decide that I'll wait and pay that whenever I have to. So taxes are due December 31st of every year. If you don't get your tax bill, that does not relieve you of your responsibility to pay the tax. And beginning January 1st, there's a 2% interest plus 9% penalty. That interest can go up to 18% per year, so it's 2% per month through September, gets you the 18% plus the 9% penalty. So these people that wait until their taxes, their car license are due in, say, October, they're paying a little extra. Depending on the size of their bill, they might be paying a lot extra. So we collect taxes in December, we turn around in January, we get all the mail finished, and we get tons of mail after the first day of January that they mailed at the end of December. And so we process all that. At the end of that month, we mail delinquent bills. One reason we started mailing them then is if you have an escrow and your escrow company is supposed to pay your bill, and for some reason they don't, you don't know that. We would send you a receipt when they pay it, but you don't know for sure if they paid it. We send you a bill at the end of January, 1st of February, and you're going to say, wait a minute. And then that way you don't have as much interest as waiting later in the year to find that out. Then at the end of February is the end of the collector's year. And so that requires a lot of reports, a lot of reporting. We have to do a lot of these things we do every month, but we do an actual state report at the end of the year that is due to the state by the end of March. And then that way they know how much we've collected, how much we've distributed, how much was written off for some reason, one reason or another, how much was added on, how much is in protesting, how much is all the aboves. Then in March, we file those reports with the clerk in the state and the commission. April, we mail delinquents again, and we're required to mail at least one time. But when we get to the April mailing, if you haven't paid your real estate tax in 2 years, so like right now, we're working on this, if you did not pay your 21 or 22 taxes, or your 21 if 2 years prior, we have to send certified mail. If we do not get that card back signed, we have to send regular mail and mail to the occupant of the property, because those properties are now subject to our tax sale. And we're really not selling the property, we're selling the tax lien on the property. So we send certified mailing. My girls are probably tell you right now, they're about to go crazy. We do lien searches to find out if there's any liens, so that we can send the lien holders a notice and let them know that the property that they have an interest in may be sold to the highest bidder at the tax sale. We look up legal descriptions in the paper whenever we publish that in July and August. We print full legal descriptions, because at one time there was a brief legal posted in the paper, and someone came back and said, wait a minute, I didn't know that was mine. So we print the full legal in the paper, and that takes a while to find all those, scan them, edit them, print them. Then in July, by statute, we have to publish in a paper that has general delivery in the county. We're very lucky, we've got 2 of those, so we can get bids and it keeps our prices lower. There are some counties that only have 1 paper. That makes their prices get higher and higher. Or there's some counties that are now don't have a newspaper, don't have a paper of regular print. And so that's getting to be a problem, so now they've said you can use a paper from an adjoining county and they will let that go by. So in August, we have our tax sale. We get all the paperwork done. We started last year too, back in July. Before we publish in the paper, we looked up phone numbers and have searched to find these people, and we called everyone that we could find a number for and said, if you don't want your name in the paper, if you pay by this date, it'll be fine. And all they have to do is pay the oldest one. We don't make them, some counties make them pay everything up to current right then. As long as we don't want to take anybody's land away. That's not what we do. We want to collect the taxes. We don't want to sell their land. So we call them, try to convince them that, it's better to pay it now than wait and have more fees added on. And all these fees, the lien searches, the certified mail, the publication fees, that all gets added to the parcel. So I've got it on my budget that I can spend so much, but I have to do what I have to do for the number of parcels that I have. But I collect that back. So the county's not out of that money. It comes back unless it goes to even if it goes to collector's deed. The only time it doesn't come back is if you have a property that's been offered more than 3 times and you can't get anybody to bid on it, you can then take an offer. We try to get as much money out of it as we can, as much of the tax money as we can, but sometimes if you've got a little bitty strip that you can't get rid of any other way, you will take less than what's on there and get it cleared up. Right now, the oldest ones that we have there's 2 properties with the 2016 tax that's still due on it. Now imagine taking 18% times all those years, how much interest that is. So at that point, if we can get the tax dollars out of it, we're better off. We get it back in the system and we get the entity's money back to them for the tax, but we may not get all the interest and penalties. After the sale, we have to send tax sale certificates to every purchaser of the property. We have to let the owners know that their property was sold, and we let the buyers know when they can pick up their certificate that we've had it recorded. So it's a tax lien on that property. So we haven't sold the property, we've sold the tax lien on the property. So then the people that own that property have a year's time, excuse me, a year's time to redeem it. They can call us and say, I want to redeem it on December 1st. We will calculate interest to the day on that amount of money that was used to buy the property, less any over surplus, I'll explain that. But then it's 10% interest on the taxes and fees that was sold for. If they pay the subsequent taxes like the next year, so if we sell something now that's 21 and we have the 22 taxes out there and they pay that, there's 8% interest on that. So if you've got extra money laying around and you want an investment, but buyer beware, make sure you know what you're buying. Over surplus is if I have $100 that's due against a property and I have two people that are really gung-ho about wanting that and they pay $10,000, that extra over $100 they get nothing for. It's just their money laying there, but they can get it back if it's redeemed. So if somebody comes back and redeems that, they can use that towards the redemption and the buyer gets their money back. The only time the buyer doesn't get any money back is if it's not redeemed, and at which time, if they follow through all their steps, they have to do a lien search, they have to send certified mail, they have to send regular mail. If some of that comes back, it's appropriate to post the property, put a sign on it that says they're going to get a collector's deed. And then after all those things are done, they have to wait 90 days and then they can get a collector's deed that property then does become theirs. So you can get the property you bought on the tax sale, but it's just not automatic. If it's a third offering property, you only have to wait 90 days instead of that year. So you can get a collector's deed after the year, but say you wait 15 months, you can do that. They can still redeem up to 18 months. If nobody redeems it and you get the collector's deed, it's your property. If you don't follow through the steps and get your collector's deed, then that certificate is released. It goes back to the regular owner's name. He never lost his possession, but it goes back to his name, and generally it'll end up on the tax sale again 2 years later. So that's kind of our year in the thing and kind of our tax sale process. When we send that certified mail, we have to send it to all owners, not just the name on the tax bill, but if there's a brother and a sister and a friend or whatever on that name on the property, they all three would get a tax bill so everybody knows. If the person is deceased, we have to try to find their heirs and get something to the heirs so that they know that that property that they might have an interest in could be going for the tax sale. During COVID, we started a new thing. Some collectors have done it longer already, but it was very hard to get a signature on a certified mail green return receipt card. They all would say C19 because they wouldn't have people sign for anything, touch their equipment and all that stuff. So we started posting properties. So last year, if we got a green card back that did not have a signature, or if it was a property that was going to be offered third time or more, we went out and we posted signs on it and basically stuck a sign in the ground that said, posted, subject to tax sale. We put a copy of the tax bill and a map with where the area of the property was, so that if they didn't get their mail, that way there was another way to show that we tried our best. We have a list on our website, capecounty.us. Click on the collector's link, and there is a listing on there that has all the properties that are subject to the tax sale at this time. That will change daily as somebody pays, because they can pay up until the time of the sale. So if you want to see if there's anything out there that you're interested in, you can go out there, look that up. It has all the properties listed, and you can see if there's any that interest you. It says how much is due approximately. We don't have the publication fee on there yet because we haven't gotten those quotes yet. The day of the sale, the couple days before the sale, you come in and register. The day of a sale, you get a bidder number, just like a regular auction. I auction the properties, but I don't talk near as fast as an auctioneer does. So it's pretty slow. It sells to the highest bidder. I told you about the oversurplus. That oversurplus is turned over to the treasurer, and that money is held. It can be then used towards a redemption, or it can be used after a property. If somebody gets the collector's deed on the property, we have to wait 90 days. If there's any liens against that, the lien holder can collect that oversurplus. So if you have a lien on something, somebody's owing you, or you borrowed them money for it, that is a way that you could get part of your money back, because otherwise you're going to lose it all. But that's why we also sent you that letter to tell you that it was going to be offered. If it stays in the account for 3 years, it's turned over to the schools. We have to record it all. We have a collector's land tax record book, and we record it all in there. If it's ever redeemed, we record that in there. That's pretty much the tax sale. It's a very involved thing. We started in April, full force, and they've been looking up phone numbers. In a couple weeks, they'll start making phone calls. So when we do a regular day in the office, we have a cash drawer that's open, and we collect taxes if somebody comes in, or if it comes in the mail. If they send the wrong amount, we call and tell them it's short or it's over. If the check needs to be corrected, they can come in and correct it or send the additional money. You can pay by mail. My only thing is, if you do, make sure you mail early and make sure you get a receipt back. There are times that we know mail doesn't always make it to where it's supposed to go. There are drop boxes outside the Jackson office. There's one in the front on Barton Street, and there's one down in the lower parking lot. In Cape, there's a slot in the door that it can be put in, and it's secure, and then they'll process it the next day. You can also come in and pay. You can pay online. We have an online payment. There is a fee for doing anything online or doing anything with a debit or credit card. So we collect our money throughout the day. At the end of the day, the clerk has to run a report, and it tells her everything that is supposed to be. So it says that how much cash there should be, how many checks there should be of the amount, how much credit card payments are. If we get payments through the internet, that's a separate one. We print all that out. They enter it on a report. The next day, a different person will take this report, and they will run a report, and the clerk has a printout from the computer that shows everything. The person the next day will take a report with everything that was paid that day for Cape and Jackson combined. They'll fill out the second page of the daily report. Has it all broke down, how much was real estate, how much was personal property, which years they were collected for. So this was yesterday's, I think. So this was June the 1st. We collected real estate and personal property for 2021's tax year. We collected personal property for 2020's. We collected personal property for 2019 and 2018. So that's all the different years that we collected. Then it has on here how much was penalty, how much was interest, a grand total of everything that was collected. That day we collected $10,312.76 total, and we collected a bad check that we had of $537.10. So if we get a bad check, we call and we mail a letter that says they have 10 days to make it good. After that 10 days, usually we'll give them maybe 20, depending on what time of the month it is and everything, because it's a pain to try to reverse all that and everything. If they do make it good, there's not a problem. If they don't make it good, we will turn it over to the prosecuting attorney, and we will send a notification to the state and have their license revoked. So if you're paying your personal property and you pay it with a bad check, And all of a sudden you get the lights come behind you and they say, oh, let me see your registration. Just wait a minute, you've got a bad check at the collector's office. I need to take you, you know. So you're not legally then driving with your license correctly. But we have to do something to be able to collect it. We have very few, very, very few that we send to the prosecuting attorney. Very few. I would say maybe 2 a year. I mean, very few considering the number of checks that we collect. So they take that report and put it on a monthly report. It says everything that we collected that day, all the different categories, if they were real estate, personal property, Little River, if they were whatever, and put that on this report, which then follows to an abstract that breaks down, it's a lot of paperwork, but it works. It breaks down into all the different categories, how much is, there's a CAF, a collector's fee, an assessor fee, there's a collector commission, that all gets turned over, all that money gets turned over to the treasurer, and then he takes care of it. Even though it's a collector's commission, the collector does not get that commission. But back in the day, many, many, many years ago, that is how the collector got paid, was a collecting a commission. So we do that, we put in here everything that we've done. And our final report that we then, this fills, it feeds from one to the other, mostly. But this is our monthly report that we then turn over to the clerk. The clerk has to sign it and seal it that it's been returned in. Then it goes to commission, and the commission approves that they've received it. So everything that we do has a path. Every day when we do that daily report, we take a copy of that, we take a copy of the computer printout, and all these other daily things to the auditor. And the auditor gets that daily. When we do the reports, they verify that they have the same numbers that we have. Then when we get this final monthly report, one goes to the treasurer, one to the auditor, one to the clerk, one to the commission, and one in a file cabinet for us. So everybody has a check and balance against everything that we've done. So that was last month's report. Last month was a slower month because there's people just not really making huge payments. But our collections last month was $319,006.52. And so that money was distributed to all these entities.
Wouldn't you have liked to have some commission off of that? You go back to the old days.
And then we send a voucher similar to this to each of the entities, telling them that it has their name and address on it. It has which month the report is for, how much that it is, and the day that it's ACH to their bank account. We started doing ACHs several years ago. Some of our entities might be getting $5 during these slow months, and it was very hard to get the checks all to clear. And so we started doing ACH. That way it's always automatic. It just goes to their account, from our account to their account. Let's see. So then also, if there's any adjustments that were done during the month, so you pay your taxes in December and all of a sudden you realize that, wait a minute, I traded off that 2012 and bought me a 2022 vehicle. And you owned it January 1st of the tax year. Oops, that's not a good thing, because you'll have to come into the assessor, they'll take that old one off, they'll bill you for the new one, you get to come see us and give us more money. Or it could be something that you got a tax bill and you paid the bill in a different county. You had moved, but you turned in an assessment list both places. And so at that time, they will remove that bill, and so it'll be a court order, court ordering it off of our taxes. So we track that. That goes to the clerk, to the auditor, to the commission, and it follows through to everybody so that everybody's on the same page knowing what's going on. I talked about the tax rates a while ago. So the entities that we have, this is kind of a list of what we have. Definitely the schools are the highest. Everybody kind of knows that. But this is the rates that they set. Like Jackson School's $3.8 per 100. And one of the highest is Delta, 4.45. So if you live in Delta, per $100, your school taxes are going to be higher than if you lived in Jackson. At the end of that tax year, whenever we did all of our reports to the state, this is a copy of that report. And it's got, on these pages, it's got everything for the current year that was collected, that was owed, that was additions. This is the back years of it. So last year, that ended March or February 28th, we collected from March 1st to February 28th, $78,443,674.13. So it is more than just a little bit, it's a lot. And so then we still had delinquent $3,261,765.83. That's the money we're still trying to collect. And each month we chunk off a little more and a little more. So that's where they don't all pay their taxes when the taxes are due. So at the end of that year, at the end of, the county has an inside auditor. So we have a first-class county, and we have an auditor, Pete Frazier, that takes care of verifying everything. We turn in all purchase orders to him. We turn our daily stuff into him. We turn our monthly stuff into him. But then there's an outside auditor that's contracted that comes, and they bid ever so often. And they come in and they just look at mostly December because that's our biggest month and that's the end of the county's year. So they look at everything we collected in December. So of that 78 million, we collected $48,469,135.13 in the month of December. So that's why our December is so out of this world, I guess you'd say. We work a little late then, but we give that to the outside auditor. We break it down everywhere we went with it, everything we did with it. Not a penny stays in our office, except we have protested taxes, and that money by statute we have to hold until the state tax commission or the courts settle it. And at that time they give us directive, and we either refund it to some of the entity or to the taxpayer if that's what they so decide, or we can distribute it to the entities, some of both. If you decide you want to protest your taxes, it's not just a, hey, I don't want to pay this. You have to have a reason. It's got to be a good reason. And if you don't go through the state tax commission and through Board of Equalizations, you have to file a court case against it. So if you don't file that court case, and we have one place that paid under protest, but they didn't file in the courts. So then after 90 days, we can distribute that money. So we had to hold it for 90 days. Then we distribute that money with interest to the entities.
What's a good reason not to pay your taxes?
Just don't.
Nobody asked.
You know, if something like maybe your property, the value went way up, you would need to go through the Board of Equalization and request from them, say, why didn't it? The biggest one we have that pays under protest is Ameren. And so we're holding money from back in 2014 through 2021 for Ameren. We also collect for merchant license. I said that earlier. They're $25. They're due from any business that sells something. If you're doing just a service, you don't have to have one. There are about 1,450 in the county that we collect from. We collect for the auctioneer license. Each month we do an unpaid and we balance to that. When we get to our end of year, we do an unpaid, so we have to balance. So we balance to that each month so that we know we're on track. We do have our files sent to the DMV. So if you go and you forget your property tax receipt, they should be able to look it up on their computer and say, oh yeah, I see you paid it. That also makes it possible for you to renew your license online if you have the card with the PIN number on it. And it's not a bad process. I've done it, but I can't tell you every step. But you have to put in that PIN number, your vehicle that you're trying to use to relicense, the name that's on your tax receipt, and your inspection code number if you have to have it inspected. And they will give you a report that says that it's been accepted, and they will give you a confirmation, and then they will send you your tags. You don't have to go to the license bureau. If you're licensing a vehicle for the first time in the county or in the state, you get a waiver. So if I moved here from Illinois and I've never paid taxes in Missouri, I would go to the assessor. They would give me a waiver saying that I did not owe any taxes because I wasn't here on January 1st. If you move from a different county, you would still pay that county for the year you lived there, January 1st, and then you would contact the assessor and be added to the tax rolls for our county then for that next year. We do have an online file for title companies to use to be able to verify taxes. It has saved a monumental number of emails and phone calls that they called and asked. And so we've got that. Everything in our office is public information. We do not give out any kind of phone numbers or email addresses. But if somebody calls and says, can you tell me what the taxes are on 620 Silver Lane, we will look that up and tell you what that is. A lot of people have escrows. We will mail taxes to the escrow company. So if you've got a loan on your property and you're paying so much each month with your taxes, like a lot of them will pay so much in taxes and so much in insurance, and then you don't have to come up with that money. We send the payment, the information to the escrow companies, and we use their payment things. We do have a prepayment plan. If your taxes are paid current and everything's current, then you can pay towards the next year's taxes. We keep that in a separate file, and it's basically like an escrow. You're paying, we do an ACH each month. We don't let you bring it into us. We do it every month as an automatic withdrawal on the 5th of the month unless it's a weekend. And then at the end of in November, your taxes will be paid off. We'll send you a letter letting you know if they went up or down, how much the difference is in November, and then your taxes will be paid, and we'll send you a paid receipt in December instead of sending a tax bill.
Is there interest collected on that account?
Yes, there
You guys
is.
have money sitting in the account?
There is interest collected on that account, and it goes to the county general revenue.
Whoa. Wow.
Now, it's not a huge amount.
I was gonna say, how many people do that?
There's probably close to 320 to 350 parcels. Not that many different people, but that many different parcels.
That's a lot of money.
And so, I think last month maybe it was 300 in interest, but that, I mean, it's a benefit to the taxpayer because they're not having to come up with the whole amount at the end of the year. And then we also have to go to trainings and meetings. We have to have 20 hours of educational time in a year. So we go to an annual conference. After COVID, and it was harder to get to some of the meetings, we started a Let's Talk Tuesday, And so every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock, unless we have a different kind of meeting or whatever, or the week of December, the Christmas, because we too busy then, we have a Zoom meeting, and it invites all the collectors in the state, so all 114 of them, and we can brainstorm things. If we have a problem or a question in our county that maybe somebody else would have known the answer to, we do that to get more education and to keep us active with each other so that we can talk to each other about things. And basically, we collect taxes, we distribute the money to the entities, we try to be a good steward for the county and for our office. And that's pretty much it. So if you have any kind of questions, I'll try to answer them.
Wow. Who on earth knew what the collector did? Wow, thank you so much. Questions?
You
No,
said
wait.
that Jackson was 3.8 and Delta is 4.45. What is Cape? The property tax rate per $100.
Cape School is 4.1567.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And that's per assessed value. So if you have a residential property, the assessor puts a market value on it. It may not be what you would actually sell for, but they put a value on. If it's residential, it's 19% of that for the assessed value. Agricultural is 12%. Commercial is 32%. Then we take that assessed value times the tax rate divided by 100 to get the tax.
Why are the taxes due at the end of the year, and what do we need to do to get them moved from December?
That would be a state legislature. We go by the statutes, and that's what it says they're due. Now, that being said, in some states they do twice a year, but you also have income tax due April 15th, and you have vacations in the summer, and school going back in September. So I don't know that there's ever a good time to pay taxes.
I agree with that. There's never a good time to pay taxes. Good questions. Questions?
Over here.
And we do have our assessor here with us this evening. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
I don't know if this applies here, but are you aware in the IRS handbook from the employees that it is voluntary for people to pay their taxes? But we, the people, do not know that because the little brochure that they give us does not tell that. But the handbook of IRS employees says that it is voluntary to pay your taxes.
IRS would be federal.
Like I said, I don't know if it applies here, but in federal that is.
Right, yeah, that would be a federal.
I would just imagine what the founders would be thinking right now after all of the taxes that we're paying when they had a revolution over a tea tax.
Amen. Questions? Risa?
What does so you send the money to the various entities, aside from schools, what are some of the other entities? Schools, fire, and police.
Okay, so we have fire departments. We have 7 different fire departments. These are the volunteer, or like Fruitland, that has so it's Delta, East County, Fruitland, Gordonville, Millersville, North County, and Whitewater. We collect for the Cape Public Library and the Riverside Regional Library. Again, Road and Bridge, they don't have a tax. We collect for school districts Advance, Cape, Delta, Jackson, Meadow Heights, Nell Holcomb, and Oak Ridge. There is a little bit of Meadow Heights in our county, so we collect those school taxes for them. Cities, we have Allenville, Cape Special Business, Delta, Gordonville, Jackson, Oak Ridge, Old Appleton, Pocahontas, Scott City, and Whitewater. And then the other monies go to mental health, public health, Senate Bill 40, which is, oh goodness, I'm at a loss of my thought. Senior citizen, state of Missouri, there's a surcharge on commercial property. It's the VIP, the special needs people. And then there's some county general revenue. Very minimal general revenue compared to a lot of the other ones.
So is Parks and Rec not, where did they get?
Okay, so, like in Jackson, Jackson's tax is broke down to so this is the city tax. That city tax is 0.8671 per hundred. It's broke down into general revenue, parks and recreation, the muni band, and the cemetery. The city of Cape is broke down into general revenue and health. And then the public library now has its own entity. So I assume it comes out of some other, if it's the city of Cape you're wondering about, I assume it comes out of some other Cape fund. I don't know for sure though.
Any other questions? I do want to remind if anyone's going to the Jackson School Board, it's 6:32. School board meeting. Gosh, Barbara, thank you so much. I have a question though. So what intrigued you? Is it just the accounting portion of it, or what intrigued you to seek this position?
So whenever I started at the county, I had a friend that worked in the Cape office, and it was a friend of my sister, and I had just had a baby and needed to find a job and get back into the world to have money for the family. And so she said, hey, we're needing a part-time person. And so I said, yeah, I'll try that. So I interviewed and got the job and started over there. And I was part-time for probably about 2 years, and we had a loss of a person, and so I went full-time. And then when the collector decided she was going to retire and they was going to, elect somebody else, and I'm kind of thinking that, I like what I do. I'm familiar with everything that I'm doing. Instead of teaching somebody else, why don't I just run for office? And so I did, and I was elected. And I enjoy my job. I enjoy what I do. I love working with numbers. And I can tell you right now, I can remember a number, but not so much a name. So I remember now, if I've talked to you several times, I can remember. But it's a numbers thing, and I just enjoy what I do. I enjoy seeing the people, and I don't work for the county. I work for the taxpayers of this county. That's who I work for. That's who I do the stuff I do for.
Good answer. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, any other questions for her? Is there a way we can contact you if anyone has questions? Oh, through the website. Yeah, I found you.
Yeah, there's a website, and it's got an email address, or you're welcome to call our office and ask for me. And the number's 243-4476.
And it is on capecounty.us, and I did find all of the land up. This is interesting, and I didn't spend a lot because I wanted to listen to you, but this is interesting because they're 160 acres here. Oh no, I'm sorry, 78 acres, and then this other one says 0 acres. There's
So that's 0 acres, it's less than an acre. That one that's 78 acres, I will guarantee it will be paid. It will not go to tax sale. We have the same names every year. Now there are some new ones this year, but in general, you can see a name and say, yep, that'll be on the tax sale. Now why those people wait that long, I don't know.
How many on average are left? How many on average are left unpaid?
On the real estate, I think last year was one of the lowest years that we had when we offered for the tax sale, and it was less than 40. A lot of years it's around 60. Right now I think there's about 220 on the list.
15 pages.
Yeah, like I said, they will get called and try to encourage them to pay. Now, there are sometimes that it just can't be done. There was a person one year that had gone to a nursing home, and his family said, we don't want it, we're not interested in the property. sell it, whatever, but he just couldn't do it. He couldn't pay it. Nobody in the family was interested in it. And, so we try to encourage, but that person, if they lost their property, it really wasn't gonna hurt them, because otherwise the state was gonna take it to pay his nursing home bills. Or the government. And they have the right to do that. They have the right to, in Cape, we sometimes there's a demolition, and there might be $16,000 due against that property for a demolition, or $10,000 or $6,000. And the people just say, it's not worth that. Now it's just a lot. I can't sell it for anything, whatever. So just go ahead and sell it and get rid of it. And, like I said, there's all kinds of situations. It's just that sometimes we understand them and sometimes we don't. Now there's a person that's got quite a bit of acreage, and every year he will pay it in July.
The one that's, 1,516,000? Am I reading that correctly? No. No.
There's nothing on there that's that big.
Okay,
There is some on there that's about $10,000.
yeah. It's very interesting. You guys need to go to this and take a look at it.
So, when do when's there no coming back from it?
Okay, the tax sale is the 4th Monday in August in every county in the state at 10 o'clock in the morning. And you have to be a resident of Missouri to buy at a tax sale, or else you have to have an agent buy for you. So if you live in Illinois and you want to come to our tax sale, you have to come and get an agent to sign up, accept the responsibility of buying for you, but they would have a year to get a collector's deed, and they could redeem during that time. If they don't get the collector's deed for 18 months, then they can still redeem up to that 18 months. So if you buy something and say you get a collector's deed at 15 months, they would have had all 15 months to redeem it. But if they don't, then you can get your collector's deed. Anytime after that year to 18 months, you can get the collector's deed. Unless it's a third offering, then it's 90 days.
Do a lot of people show up for those?
Several, yes.
Like 10, 15, or?
I would say there's maybe closer to 30. Now, not everybody
I think
bids.
a lot of people would know that you could do that.
Not everybody bids. We do publish it in the paper. It has to be published in the paper 3 times. The last one has to be within 15 days of the day of the sale. So, there's a lot of statutes that we follow to get those all in line. And if they don't sell in that first day, you gotta start over the next morning at 10 o'clock. We've never had to do that in Cape County. We usually are done by noon.
So, are the properties that are the third offering denoted somehow? So like if you were looking at the list of properties and, this is the third time it's offered.
It says that in the paper.
It does say it in the paper.
Yeah, it doesn't say it on that online right now, but it does show you how many years are due. So that would be an indication, but it does not say that on the online right now. We only have so much room to get it on a legal page, and we try to get the most important information. If there's no other questions, thank you for inviting me. I hope I've educated you with what we do in our office and our checks and balances and how we handle things. And if you have any questions, feel free to call, or if you come in to pay your taxes, wave, and I'll try to wave back if I'm not too busy.
Well, Barb, I gotta tell you, it's your infectious smile. Not that I wanna pay taxes, but I thank you very much. Thank you very much. And you're welcome to stay around.